Wow. Welcome to my bar mitzvah, everybody. The kiddush will be in the social hall. Tish James. As the mayor, you called her the baddest attorney general in America. I'm going to say most brilliant attorney general in America. A leader who is not afraid of a fight and not afraid of a bully who is a former president whose name I'm not going to mention. But he has met his match. Thank you, Tish. I love you. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for being here. I will apologize to President Biden for cutting into your time. I don't know how you do it. You show up in more places than all 5 of the borough presidents combined. It is amazing. Your energy, your intensity, your optimism, it's exactly what the city needs right now, and I'm so grateful for your leadership. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And also, you gave a pretty good speech last week, too. Congrats on that. I am grateful that we are joined by the district attorney of the borough of Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, who is having a pretty good week, and another leader who is not afraid of that bully whose name we will not mention. Thank you, D.A. Bragg, for being here and for your leadership. And we got some awesome city council members here. I want to shout them out. We got Councilmember Chris Marte. We got my successor in the most amazing 7th Council District, Sean Abreu. Councilmember Eric Botcher. Councilmember Carlina Rivera. Somehow he got a seat with the council members because he's a former council member. Dan Garodnick, chair of city planning. We love him too. Councilmember Keith Powers. Councilmember Carmen de la Rosa, mi hermana. Now, is Jackie Rowe Adams a council member, or is she just in a good seat? We appreciate you. And I know Dr. Dukes is in that corner because I heard her cheering like 5 times. Thank you, Dr. Dukes. We love you. We respect you. I want to thank some people who are unfortunately not here tonight. My amazing family who is dispersed all over the world. Ivelisse, my wife, our wonderful sons, Alejandro and Daniel, they are in Philadelphia, San Juan, and Jerusalem. So they couldn't be here, but they are very much in my heart. I love them so much, and I am so grateful for the support and love they give me every day. Can you give them a big round of applause? And I want to shout out this close-knit tribe of borough presidents. Oh my gosh. I am so lucky to partner with them every single day. They're here in absentia. Vanessa, Antonio, Donovan, and Vito, we love them. Thank you. All right, 1 second. First time with the teleprompter, folks. Be patient with me. Hey, Alex, you can speed that up a little bit. All right. This is how we do it. Live theater. All right, cheer now. Just cheer. Ahora español, ¿qué le parece? Bienvenidos a todas y a todos a el primer discurso, el estado del condado de Manhattan. Bienvenidos de nuevo. Si ustedes me están entendiendo, yo creo que algunos de ustedes sí, más le vale. Hagan un poco de bulla para que yo sepa que aquí se entiende español. Bienvenidos de nuevo al mejor condado del universo. Yo lo siento mucho, algunos de ustedes que son de Bronx se van a quejar, pero es así, es así. עכשיו, ברוכים הבאים לכולן וכולם. התכנסנו כאן ביחד היום כדי לחגוג את רובע מנהטן האהוב שלנו, לציין את ההתקדמות והאתגרים שלנו, ולהסתכל יחדיו לעבר עתידנו מזהיר. Thank you so much. The rest of the speech will be in Greek. Just kidding. Welcome to City College. Thank you, President Boudreaux. First free public institution of higher ed in America. Founding pillar of our precious CUNY system. Welcome to West Harlem. Home to greats like Harry Belafonte, Duke Ellington, Lena Horne, a guy named Alexander Hamilton. Don't Lin-Manuel. Welcome to the borough of Manhattan, global epicenter of art, innovation, and social activism, where the energy and diversity is like nowhere else on earth. You can knock Manhattan down, but you cannot knock us out. In the last 2 decades alone, we faced the 9/11 terror attack, the 2008 financial crisis, Superstorm Sandy, the COVID pandemic. Each time, the naysayers said we were done. Each time, we came back, and we are coming back again. In my office, we have fought with our heart and soul for this comeback. I want you to know that Manhattan is incredibly well served by an outstanding team in the BP's office. Deputy Borough Presidents Aya Keefe and Keisha Sutton-James. And I would like to ask the entire BP staff, could you please stand so we can thank you, please? I want all of you to know how grateful I am for what you do, for me, for the office, for the borough. You inspire me every single day. Now, we know that as a borough, to keep our comeback going, we must honestly confront our challenges. And we have faced many over the past year. The very first day that I took office as president of the borough of Manhattan was the peak of the deadly Omicron wave. The weeks that followed were full of tragedy. The horrific death of Michelle Go on a subway platform in Times Square. The tragic murder of 2 Upper Manhattan police officers, Inwood's own Officer Jason Rivera, East Harlem's own Officer Wilbert Mora. We endured a shocking rise in hate crimes directed at our Asian American neighbors, against Jewish New Yorkers, against the LGBTQ community, and others. And we must directly and honestly confront every one of these challenges. If you're wondering what that ruckus up front was, that was the arrival of the Bronx Borough President, Vanessa Gibson. She is in the house. Thank you, Vanessa. To our Asian American neighbors, know that we totally reject the hatred that's been directed at you, too often in violent fashion. We must do more to ensure you feel safe in our city. To our beloved LGBTQ community, increasingly targeted nationally and in New York, know that we support you and love you exactly as you are. To the Jewish community, and in particular my Orthodox brothers and sisters, who are the ones who are being disproportionately targeted, I say that we cannot accept the appalling rise in anti-Semitism in New York and globally. We must call it out. We must fight against this ancient foe wherever it shows itself. I am confident that we can do this, because I've also seen the best of New Yorkers over the past year. As hateful and xenophobic governors use migrants as political pawns, sending thousands here on buses, we welcomed our newest New Yorkers with open arms. Right, Mayor? My office put out a call for contributions of clothing and other essential goods, and you responded, bringing in thousands of pounds of donations. Yes, the migrants need our support now, and we need some federal help for that. But there will it is no doubt that over time, these migrants will make a huge contribution to our city, just as every other wave of arrivals have. Y de verdad me agrada que con nosotros esta tarde vinieron muchos de ellos, nuevos vecinos recién llegados de Venezuela y otros países, sepan ustedes que ya son parte de la familia neoyorquina. Bienvenidos. If you want proof of the positive contribution that these recent arrivals are going to make to our city, I'm thrilled that some of them have joined us here today. They are students in an incredible job training program, yes, a job training program in East Harlem called Renaissance Technical Institute. Thank you all for being here. Un aplauso más, por favor. Many of you answered a very important call over the past year. You stepped up to lead by applying to your community board. We are thrilled that we received a nearly unprecedented 900 applications last year. And our appointments reflected the incredible diversity of the borough. Community board members do some of the toughest and most important work in the city. Would all the community board members please stand up so we can applaud your efforts? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, look at that. That's better turnout than some community board meetings. Impressive. We're going to continue to support the boards in the year ahead by fighting for you to get larger budgets for personnel and by advocating for improvements to the open meetings law. The first time the open meetings law has ever been applauded in public. Many of you stepped up to serve our young people by volunteering to lead for our schools as members of community education councils, of the PEP, thank you, Dr. Salas Ramirez, as PA presidents and as PA members. The nights are long, the topics are almost always challenging, but you are showing up to fight for your kids, and I am so grateful for all of you. And while we're on the topic of schools, thank you, teachers. We love you, teachers. Thank you for all you do for our young people. I am also grateful for another group of leaders here, our NYCHA Tenant Association presidents and TA board members. You have stepped up to do the tough and often thankless work of fighting for your developments and your communities for no other reason than that you care about your neighbors. And I am so grateful for you. We have a long, long way to go to get you and your developments the investments that you need and deserve. We know that. But I have to say that partnering with all of you over the past year has been one of my highlights of my term in office so far, and I'm already looking forward to our next breakfast together. As leaders in this room, whether local activists, elected officials, or regular New Yorkers, we know we have to build on the progress our borough and city have made over the past year. And we have to fight to ensure that we come back in a way that closes the equity gap, not in a way that worsens the inequality that so defined this city before and during the pandemic. We must address the crisis of homelessness, ensure that every school is fully funded, fix our broken mental health system, close the reprehensible racial gap in health outcomes, slow the crisis of evictions in housing court, make it easier for low-income and working-class families to find a home they can actually afford. And yes, we must ensure that everyone feels safe in their community. And we can. We've done it on 125th Street, where under the leadership of Barbara Askins at the bid, applaud for Barbara Askins, she's amazing. We brought together half a dozen city agencies to address myriad concerns on this vital commercial strip. We had intensive, coordinated focus from the 25th Precinct, the Department of Homeless Services, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Sanitation, Parks, DOT, the DA's office. And while the challenges on that part of 125th Street are still real, it is safer and healthier and cleaner than it has been in years. And now, we are looking to replicate this successful multi-agency strategy in Hell's Kitchen, another neighborhood which has faced similar challenges. It is clear that throughout the borough, we have to do much more to get people who are experiencing severe mental illness the treatment they need. That means reversing the loss of hundreds of inpatient psychiatric beds in Manhattan, and ensuring that when patients are discharged from these hospitals, they continue to receive care at well-funded, community-based, peer-led mental health programs. As we make progress on making Manhattan's neighborhoods healthier and safer, that will undoubtedly help small businesses too. But we know that too many of them are still facing very challenging economic conditions after the difficult last 3 years. That's why my office launched a $2 million zero-interest loan fund for Manhattan small businesses in partnership with the Hebrew Free Loan Society, helping mom and pops grow and invest during these challenging times. I am so grateful for Rabbi David Rosen's leadership and partnership on this project. Now, small businesses are critical to the city, but the real backbone of our economy is workers. And there is no greater force for worker empowerment than a labor union. It would appear that labor is in the house. We won some major labor victories in Manhattan over the past year. At the Starbucks Roastery in Chelsea, which in April became the first roastery in America to vote to unionize. At the New School in December, where a 3-week strike by adjunct faculty with UAW Local 7902 won a contract with major gains in salary and health benefits. And 3 weeks ago at Mount Sinai Hospital, where nurses won a big strike victory, gaining historic increases in safe staffing ratios. Thank you, nurses. We love you. My son's going to be one soon. True story. That's why he's in Philadelphia. And let's not forget that we have a strike ongoing now in Manhattan. 59 days and counting at HarperCollins, where UAW 2110 members have been out for almost 2 months because despite huge profits, the company refuses to pay its workers a living wage. I am proud to stand with Manhattan workers in every one of these fights. If you, like me, are ready to stand with labor in the fights ahead, make some noise. Well done, well done. We also have to fight for the workers of tomorrow by ensuring that our young people are prepared for the careers of tomorrow. To do that, we need every public school to be fully funded. We need every student to have the option of great curricula in computer science and coding and genetics and robotics and AI. And we have a lot of work to do. Most public schools in the city still don't have a certified computer science teacher. Most still don't have a robotics program. But in our own Community District 6, every single school has a robotics program. Every one, from kindergarten up to high school. Congratulations to Superintendent Manny Ramirez and their nonprofit partner in the effort, First Robotics. You guys have created a great model for the city. Let's go borough-wide and city-wide with that. We need to care for our young people's social and emotional health too, especially after the trauma of the last 3 years. That's why we need more DOE social workers, substance use counselors, and a full-time permanent nurse in every school every day. Our nurses, our doctors, our EMS workers, our public health professionals, they have been through the equivalent of wartime service over the past 3 years. And they are continuing to battle because of increasingly heavy caseloads of patients with COVID and much else. We owe it to these heroes to continue fighting for good health policy in the city, for our own benefit and to relieve the pressure on exhausted healthcare workers. We owe it to them to improve our vaccination rate, which stands now in New York City at just 14% for bivalent boosters. We got to do better than that. Can we do better than that? Dr. Dukes, are we going to do better than that? Yes, we are. We owe it to our healthcare workers to make access to free, high-quality masks easier. That's why my office has distributed thousands of COVID safety kits all over the borough with not just high-quality masks, but oximeters, digital thermometers, and more. And we need to be better prepared for the next pandemic, or even the next major wave of COVID, by upgrading indoor air quality in schools, in residential, commercial, and public buildings. That's why I'm now crafting legislation in partnership with Councilmember Keith Powers that would help ensure we're monitoring and improving air circulation and filtration throughout the city. We've got some work to do on outdoor air quality as well, which is precisely why I joined with all 4 of my fellow borough presidents in calling for the planting of 1 million more trees in our city. Trees don't just clean our air, they absorb carbon dioxide, catch storm runoff, cool neighborhoods on hot days, but there is enormous inequality in where trees are planted. Low-income communities of color, like East Harlem, have far fewer trees per block than wealthier areas. Planting 1 million trees will enable us to close this equity gap, and it will make it possible for us to achieve the critical goal of 30% green canopy cover for our city. We have got to, you can applaud for a canopy cover, let's do it. Who doesn't love trees? We have got to go big and bold on every front in our battle to save the climate. We've got to electrify everything that moves, from school buses to sanitation trucks. We've got to make our buildings dramatically more efficient by fully implementing Local Law 97. We have to fix how we manage our waste, which is why my Manhattan City Council colleagues and I have called for composting pickup for every single building in the borough. And I am thrilled that the mayor has now said this is going to happen. It's going to happen, Mayor? All right, let's do it. And we have much more to do to protect our city from the climate change, which is already here. A decade after Sandy, we're still behind on this. That's why I've called for the creation of a new waterfront protection agency, which will unify the work of 11 city departments that now have jurisdiction and responsibility on waterfront assets. This new agency will make it possible to more quickly and efficiently protect vulnerable waterfronts and govern our waterfront for the long haul. This will ensure that there's a single entity accountable for strong community engagement on those complicated projects. We've been investing in public space beyond our waterfront, too. I'm thrilled that we've now selected projects for $20 million of investments in Chinatown as part of the Downtown Redevelopment Initiative, funded by the state. Thank you, Governor Hochul. And shout out to my wonderful predecessor, Gail Brewer, for fighting for the DRI. Gail Brewer is also in the house. Thank you, Gail. We appreciate you. I need a clone like Gail has. We will be implementing capital projects to beautify and improve accessibility at Park Row, from the Brooklyn Bridge to Kim Lau Square. We'll be fully renovating Kim Lau Square itself, as well as upgrading Sarah D. Roosevelt Park, and building the first ever welcome arch for Chinatown. And we got some breaking news here. We've learned that our application for a similar $10 million investment for East Harlem has also been approved by Governor Hochul. We are so grateful for this vote of confidence by the governor and by Secretary of State Robert Rodriguez, whose agency is administering the DRIs. Indeed, he hasn't forgotten where he came from. Thank you, Robert. My office will be leading a community-driven process over the coming year to select which upgrades will be funded for East Harlem, and I'm incredibly excited to partner with all of you in the year ahead. We're fighting to improve streetscapes all over Manhattan, to make them safer and greener and more inviting for everybody, to make our streets truly people-centered. We announced a vision for pedestrianizing Broadway between Union Square and Times Square. We put forward a bold plan to rein in the chaos of e-commerce delivery by creating more dedicated curbside delivery space so that those mountains of boxes are moved off the sidewalk and sorted somewhere else, like inside garages and other innovative ideas. And here's one thing we can all agree we need more of in every neighborhood: public bathrooms. I am thrilled to have passed, together with my partner in this effort, Councilmember Rita Joseph, a bill requiring the city to find one place in every zip code to open a new public bathroom. This is a question of equity, of quality of life, and yes, public health. We're going to do this. Let's do even more to beautify our streets. Let's containerize the trash put out in front of buildings. Eric Botcher started clapping before I even finished the word containerize. Very impressive, council member. We don't want mountains of trash on our sidewalks, do we? We can do better. Let's be smarter about sidewalk sheds and scaffolding so they don't stay up for years on end. Let's make sure we get 5G towers right before we fill up our residential neighborhoods with them. Now, I think some of you might have heard that I am somewhat passionate about right to counsel in housing court. Yes. We will have words about Vanessa Gibson on this topic in a moment. Stick with me. It pains me to report that with evictions steadily increasing month by month in New York City, the number of cases has now overwhelmed the legal service providers. This is a miscarriage of justice, making tenants go through an eviction proceeding without the benefit of an attorney to fight for them. That is not right. That's why in 2017, I joined with then fellow city council member and now fellow borough president from the BX, Borough President Vanessa Gibson, to pass historic legislation making New York City the first place in America to guarantee a right to counsel for all tenants. The law has been a game changer, dramatically lowering the number of evictions pre-pandemic. But now, that law is being undermined as the number of eviction cases has overwhelmed the capacity of legal service providers. Thousands of families are being evicted simply because they don't have an attorney for them. Many have lost homes because of this. There are families in the shelter system today because the right to counsel was not fulfilled for them. This is unacceptable, and the solution is obvious. We are demanding that the state court system not move any eviction cases forward in New York City if the tenant does not have an attorney. That is our demand. Are you with us? While we're fighting for tenants to remain in their homes, we have a second, parallel, equally important fight. We need to help the countless families who are desperate to find an apartment that they can afford to live in. We are not just facing a shortage of housing in New York City, and especially in Manhattan. We are facing a full-blown affordability crisis, the worst in our history. This is a crisis that threatens the very future of our borough. We are simply not creating enough housing, and especially not enough affordable housing for Manhattan's growing population. The pace of housing creation in Manhattan is half what it was 5 years ago. Last year, we had fewer than 3,500 new housing units completed in our borough, compared to more than 11,000 in Brooklyn, and we do not like losing to Brooklyn. The resulting housing shortage here has given landlords the power to jack rents up to unprecedented levels. Market rate rents in Manhattan are now averaging $5,000 per month. Our borough is turning into a place where even middle-class families are getting priced out. Teachers, bus drivers, nurses cannot find an apartment they can afford here. For young people growing up in Manhattan, the prospect of eventually having their own apartment in their home borough increasingly feels like an impossible dream. And for the families on the margins, the affordability crisis is utterly devastating and is one of the key reasons that so many thousands of our fellow New Yorkers are in the homeless shelter system. In the fierce competition for the scarce apartments in Manhattan, the wealthy are winning out, leaving middle-class and low-income New Yorkers increasingly desperate. It is urgent that we create more housing in our borough, and especially affordable housing, which is truly affordable to the people who live here. We know it's possible to create the housing that we need because we've done it. This is West 108th Street, my old council district. Sean knows it well. This is 5 years ago, where there was a couple of rundown parking garages. This is West 108th Street today. 200 new units of deeply supportive housing run by a wonderful local nonprofit, Wishfish. Creating this housing was not an easy fight. Those of you who lived through it know. But it was the right fight. And we need many, many more victories like this all over Manhattan. And I'm not just going to sit back and hope that happens. Not in the midst of an affordability crisis on this scale. So today, we are releasing Housing Manhattanites, a plan that identifies over 170 locations in our borough where there's an opportunity to create the housing we desperately need. The sites we have identified range from large vacant properties to small abandoned lots to underutilized buildings which can be repurposed for housing. These sites span downtown to uptown, in all 12 community boards, in every neighborhood. Here are a few examples. 248 Pearl Street, now a surface parking lot, where we could build 258 housing units. Which would you rather have, that or 258 apartments? Easy answer. 2 Howard Street, currently a parking garage owned by the federal government, where we could build 205 units of 100% affordable housing. East 126th Street, now home to a closed bus depot, where we could create 730 units of 100% affordable housing with a museum on the ground floor honoring the nearby African burial ground. And we've identified 9 neighborhoods as well, where updated zoning could unlock huge housing potential. Neighborhoods like Hell's Kitchen and Community Board 4, where rezoning would make it possible to create housing in old manufacturing areas and enhance the neighborhood with vibrant mixed uses and as much as 4,400 new homes. These are just some of the 170 sites we've identified. In total, these sites would yield 73,000 new homes for our borough. And 30,000 of these units would be affordable. 30,000. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. We'll have more housing opportunities to explore in the days ahead, together with many of you, from Chinatown and the Lower East Side to Roosevelt Island and Marble Hill. Stay tuned. But what we do know is that this plan we have laid out would mean that low-income and working-class Manhattanites would finally have a shot at securing an apartment they can actually afford. That means fewer families winding up in our shelter system. It means that bus drivers and nurses and teachers would again have a realistic shot at finding an apartment here. It means that young people growing up in Manhattan would no longer have to give up one day on finding a place of their home, a place of their own in our borough. This would help make it possible for a whole generation of Manhattanites to reign in our borough, to raise a family here, to be part of our future here. But this will not be easy. All of us are going to have to work together to make this happen. Community boards, local leaders, elected officials, the mayor, the chair of city planning, so many of you. I know you are committed to doing the hard work of addressing our housing emergency while also balancing the unique needs and history of every neighborhood. We can work together to find that balance. For too long, we have just totally avoided this conversation. We've outsourced the planning for housing development to developers who have been only too happy to build 100% luxury buildings. And for years, shamefully, this is exactly what we've gotten. It's time we seize control of the narrative. It's time we move proactively to ensure we get housing that includes affordability, including units affordable to even the lowest income Manhattanites. It's time we take control so we get the housing we need where we need it. To the doubters who say we can't do this, I say yes we can. To the haters who say Manhattan will never fully come back, I say yes we will. To the critics who say this will no longer be a place where people want to live, play, work, visit, study, I say you are wrong. Manhattan's population is growing. We're already up almost 4% compared to pre-pandemic. Of course, people want to be in Manhattan. There's only one Apollo Theater. There's only one United Palace. There's only one Loisaida. There's only one Barney Greengrass Grill. There's only one Museo del Barrio. There's only one Stonewall Inn. There's only one Mott Street in Chinatown. I could go on and on and on. You get the point. Yes, Manhattan definitely has a future, and it's up to us to choose what future we want our borough to have. Are we going to allow Manhattan to come back in a way that exacerbates inequality? Are we going to ensure that our borough is a place of opportunity where no one is left behind? Are we going to allow existential threats to our environment? Are we going to fight for every block in Manhattan to be healthier, greener, and more resilient than ever? Are we going to fight? I love the energy. Thank you for coming. Let's give them a big round of applause. You know you're not doing tough work if you don't bring out a little bit of controversy. Thank you for being here. Mr. Mayor, am I right? I love the energy of Uptown. Say it with me, guys. Are we going to create the housing that we need in Manhattan for people of all backgrounds so they can continue to call our borough home? Let's build that future together, Manhattan. Hagamos esta visión realidad por el bien de nuestros niños, por el bien de nuestro futuro. Thank you so much. Muchísimas gracias. Toda raba. Ευχαριστώ πολύ, πάρα πολύ. Dolce, Daiga. That's all I got, AG. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's do this, Manhattan. I love you.